and so close to me that I was like, these are what I love. These are what really made impact in my life. And this is what I would really love to be a part of. So that was definitely where my passion for it was all born, for the ocean. So I was like, oh, maybe I should switch gears and take a better look at like where my strengths are in terms of like being a creative, very like David Attenborough, like, look, here's a dolphin, look at the
Yeah.
dolphin swim, like type. Or you can have something like the Cub, which was a terrible David Attenborough impression. So sorry to him, but
The Hollywood dream. The Hollywood dream.
Hello and welcome to the Hollywood Dream Podcast, the podcast where we talk to film and TV professionals about their journey in Hollywood and reaching their Hollywood dream, whatever that might be to them. And in today's episode, I'm talking to Wynona Barbera. Wynona is a producer and documentary filmmaker. I met her a while ago while we both worked on a short film as part of a film challenge here in New York City. So enjoy this chat with Wynona Barbera. So what have you been working
sounds
on?
fun. Love it. So I've been kind of bouncing back and forth. I think for me, when the pandemic hit, it was a pretty big eye opener in terms of like film production and the industry and everything. So I've been freelancing, but I've also been working in the wine industry just as like a second job. And they've both been a lot of fun. But I still work with Allison a lot with her company, One Health Productions. So we're still doing a lot of like smaller local videos on just like conservation efforts and things that are local. She's still working on her big budget film that I help with. So that's what's been a lot of my attention. Otherwise, I've been doing like whatever producing gigs just kind of like pop out and come my way from here and there.
How is it working with One Health Production? I know I follow them and I follow Allison as well. And I know they're working on that documentary in Uganda. Are you part of that as well? Or how is that experience?
So the gorilla trekking film, I didn't really help out with. That was a smaller team that she had done. That's, I believe, going to be in the New York Wild Fest this year, which is super cool. I think that's coming up like next week. The big thing that she's working on right now that I've been helping out with is her feature documentary, which is all about gibbons. So that's something that she's taken a few trips on. I just watched the latest cut, but it's fun. I mean, Allison is awesome, as you know. It's great to work for just like a smaller women-led production company. Whenever her and I do anything together, we're always like, what women in the industry can we support? Who can we get attached to this? Like, that's always such a high priority. And I know definitely it's what also helps us look unique in the industry as well, that we do like stick to values like that. So yeah, I mean, it's a joy to work for that. I also, for me, being in New York, which is a quite, concrete jungle, I guess, it's nice to use it's a nice outlet, because for me, when I first got into film, I really wanted to focus on like environmental topics, conservation, wildlife, etc. And that's very hard to do from New York. There's absolutely wildlife here, but it's not quite as exciting as, say Australia or some other place. But yeah, so it's fun whenever her and I are able to do things together that are more environmentally oriented. It's nice to have that outlet in a more like local space.
Yeah, and was production the one thing you've always wanted to do in the industry, or did you have an idea to pursue something different and production just kind of happened to fall in your lap?
Yeah, no, film was absolutely not what I thought I wanted to do at first.
Yeah.
I actually, when I first went to college, what I started out was studying marine biology. And I very much thought that my route was going to be science, that I was going to hopefully work with science in the ocean and everything. And I think after about like 2 years of pursuing that, I very quickly realized that one, science was not necessarily my strong suit, but also two, everything that I loved about the ocean, about wildlife, all of that. The thing that I was really more so interested in was impact and change and, getting people to care, things like that. And as much as scientists are at the forefront of like helping and change and all of that, what really intrigued me more was the people who were advocates or storytellers or, positions like that for the ocean. So I was like, oh, maybe I should switch gears and take a better look at like where my strengths are in terms of like being a creative. Maybe I want to do writing, maybe I want to do film. And so I kind of explored that a little throughout my education. And where I landed was definitely documentary film. Because for me, in my own journey of like learning to love the ocean and wildlife and all of that, what really influenced me was documentaries at the end of the day. Like there were so many that were so powerful and so close to me that I was like, these are what I love. These are what really made impact in my life. And this is what I would really love to be a part of. So that was definitely where my passion for it was all born out of.
And what are some of your favorite documentaries?
Oh gosh. Yeah, of course. Well, right off the bat, one of my absolute favorites of all time, one of the ones that was extremely life-changing for me is The Cove. It's by the Oceanic Preservation Society following Rick O'Barry, and he was a previous dolphin trainer who then dedicated his life to not just changing the misconceptions surrounding dolphins, but also exposing a lot of the issues surrounding captivity and SeaWorld and aquariums and all of that. So it was very focused on Taiji, Japan, which is like a very big hub for the capturing and killing of a lot of dolphins, well, a lot of which is for captivity situations. So that's a fantastic documentary. And what I also really love about that film is with environmental documentaries, like there's so many out there, but you can get the very like David Attenborough, like, look, here's a dolphin, look at the dolphin swim, like type. Or you can have something like The Cove, which was a terrible David Attenborough impression, so sorry to him. But or you can get one like The Cove, which is like an investigative, more like journalism type, exciting thriller genre within the documentary. And so, especially now with all the documentaries we're seeing getting all the attention, all the murder mysteries and things like that, like it sits somewhere in the middle ground where it's just like fun and exciting and engaging. So I love that one a lot. Another one I definitely recommend is Project Nim. That is by the same director, whose name is escaping me, who did the film about the guy that tightrope walked
between I saw
the
that
Twin
one.
Towers. So good, yeah. So Project Nim is the question of nature versus nurture in terms of if we were to raise a chimpanzee as close to human-like as possible, what would happen? How human would it become? And it goes horribly wrong. I won't spoil it, but it's very good, and just two very different sides to what a film surrounding kind of animals, wildlife, all that can like look like. But definitely two favorites of mine.
Okay, are those on Netflix or any streaming?
Good question. I don't know. I think, yeah, I'm not sure. Honestly, they might not be. They're definitely. I want to say one of them is on Amazon, but well, at least definitely for purchase, they're all available. But I think there's a chance one of them is on Amazon, but for free. But yeah, I don't remember.
As someone who's been working on like documentaries, you also did short films. and I saw that you're working on a feature film. What are some challenges that you face when you're doing a documentary as opposed to like a feature or a narrative?
Yeah, so I think when I was getting into feature work, or not just narrative work, when I was getting into narrative work, it was more so because it was what was available to me at the time. So when I was first really starting out in the industry, when I was doing PA work and I was working for Netflix or HBO or whatever local shows were filming in New York,
Yeah.
um, I've, of course, always loved film and TV in general. So even though they aren't documentary, they're still so much fun to work on. So I definitely really loved working on those spaces, but it is very different. The way I got into more of like the short film local scene, it was also just to like practice my craft, especially starting out of the industry. Like I said, I had gone into it from like I just know I want to tell stories standpoint. I didn't know what I wanted to be yet. I didn't know if it was editing, directing, producing. So working on short films with like local creative people, especially creative women, that's how I met you, was a really good way for me to like just figure out where are my strengths, what's the most interesting to me, where do I feel like I belong within the film industry. So it was just a way to really hone in on my skill set, which eventually for me ended up being producing. That was what I really took to. But yeah, I still love like narrative film. It's so much fun. There's so many amazing stories to tell. So while it's like not necessarily my like number one priority or goal, I still fully love and enjoy being a part of all of them, and doing the Women's Weekend Film Challenge that we did. Like that was
Yeah.
just a lot of like fun ways to just do creative things and just let ourselves kind of run free and have fun and see a little glimpse of what our potential could be with a small budget.
I know we had no budget for that. Sure.
Yeah. Pretty much zero budget, exactly.
Yeah. So, but it was a lot of fun. So what is your ultimate like dream project if you were to be given an unlimited, I mean, whatever amount of money to make your dream documentary? What would that be?
Gosh, yeah. I would say two things. I mean, my main focus when I was studying marine biology and when I switched over to film is I absolutely love sharks. They're like my favorite animal ever. I have my little shark tooth that I wear. They're just like a really misunderstood, awesome species. I would love to be a part of Shark Week, but I would also love to just be a part of just creating more films towards fixing their perceptions. Like we've had Blackfish, we've had the big moment for killer whales. We had the Cove, which is the big moment for dolphins, and there's been several films about sharks, of course, but I think we've yet to have that like really cool investigative, just like exciting documentary style one regarding sharks. So that would absolutely be, if I could like pick anything in the world to work on, that would absolutely be it. When I was in school, in film school, one of the documentaries or the documentary that I did as like my thesis project was about elephants. And I would also love to revisit that and see what it could look like if I had beyond school funding. But that was a story of, there's a lot of like organizations that do like adopt an animal, like adopt an elephant, and they send you a little stuffed animal and a certificate, like
Yeah.
you adopted this animal. Yeah. So the idea was I had adopted an Indonesian elephant, and then for this film, I was actually able to fly to Indonesia and go
Oh,
see essentially all the different places that an elephant could end up. So be that the wild, be that a zoo, a sanctuary. And I would love to revisit that project with real funding
yeah.
because obviously when I went, it was so much fun, but it was me and one other girl. We were doing our best to capture everything in front of us. It also, unfortunately, when we were in Bali, it got bombed. So we had to
Oh
leave.
no. Oh my God.
But yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. But that's another project where I was like, if I could redo that, give it a new treatment, get funding for that, that'd be so much fun. I would love to see that through too.
That sounds like a fun project. If anyone has money, please give it to Wynona so she could do it.
Thank you. Yes, elephant money, please.
I saw that you are a producer on Room 16. Is that so? I know that's a feature film, but is that something that you just happen to land, or is that a project that it's kind of close? It's you have a close relationship with. How do you get that job?
So that was a project of a girl who I met through the Women's Weekend Film Challenge. She wanted to do her first feature. Um, she had poured a lot of heart and money into making it happen, and she did a lot of incredible things. When it came to time to like edit and release, that was when I kind of came onto the project and started helping her come up with like a film festival strategy. It was very like post-production producing work. Yeah, and as far as that film goes, it was kind of unfortunate because we really started to hit our momentum right before the pandemic. And so she wanted to edit it herself. A lot of it because of budgeting, but also because it was very much her passion project and she had the idea that it was in her head. So she started to do that. I think quickly kind of became a little overwhelmed by the idea of editing an entire feature. And then pandemic happened. And so it's definitely a project on pause right now. I know Jolie is amazing. She has a very great flourishing career through her photography. But yeah, it's not a production that I'm like currently really active in at the moment. But yeah, a lot of what she had hired me to do on that was really just film fest strategy, which was a lot of what I also did for Women's Weekend Film Challenge and then eventually other films as well. But yeah, it was very fun and it was very hopeful. It just like unfortunately didn't really work out timing wise, but I do hope that when she's able to finish it, that I can see some audiences because it was super cool.
Yeah, I feel like the pandemic just ruined a lot of really good projects.
It did. I think for me, when the pandemic happened, it was just like, wow, my industry is vulnerable. It's not something that, especially in that, especially in the height of it, it was like, oh, like there are literally just not productions happening right now. It's not safe to do that. And so it was a very uncomfortable feeling to know, like, when we didn't have a certainty of like when the pandemic would quote unquote end or get better, it was like, when am I going to be able to even return to my field? And that was a very scary thought, which was a lot of why I did somewhat of a pivot. But yeah, it absolutely killed a lot of projects. And I remember even when I was like starting to get back into it, it was like I was asking myself, do I feel safe around like being around this many people? Like there are so many factors. And it just it just really changed everyone's perspective in a lot of ways for the better. I mean, I think a lot of productions are now safer overall and take health more seriously. But yeah, really scary moment for a lot of people and really unfortunate timing for a lot of people too.
I know. I was getting my MFA during the pandemic, and our film that we had to do, it was like in the middle of the pandemic, and it was a nightmare to do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was getting offers that I was literally denying in in that kind of time period where productions were first just starting to go back, and then there was like a few public cases of like somebody got COVID on set, we have to stop the whole thing. And so yeah, like it was just such a difficult time because there were things that I'd be like, yeah, I really want to work on this, but health wise, am I willing to do that yet? And of course now we're in a better place, which is great. But yeah, at the time you really just had to kind of bite the bullet and swallow a lot of unfortunate circumstance.
Yeah. Well, let's turn it to a positive. What has been like your most exciting or your best job that you've done so far working in production and in film?
Oh gosh, most exciting. Um, I don't know. There's so many ways I could answer that because there's like what has maybe been the most fulfilling, what has maybe been the literal most exciting in the moment. Like, I wouldn't say this is something that was like one of the biggest thing I did, but it was definitely a lot of fun. One thing that Allison and I worked on was we had done these like small videos for a wolf sanctuary in upstate New York. And
Oh,
filming that was so much freaking fun. We were quite literally in the enclosure with the wolves, and the wolf species had just had babies, which is why we were there. We were
oh,
capturing like the vet check of of all the little cuties. But we had to get them from the enclosure in order to do the vet check. And we had to film that. So I was like literally there with my camera and like wolves were running between my legs and like wolves.
oh my
So
God, were you
that was
scared?
really cool. Like definitely a little bit. I think there were moments like I had full trust in everyone that I was with and they were on it. But there was every once in a while where someone would say something like the mom is over there. I'm like, okay. So that there were definitely times where I'm like, okay, I don't have eyes in every space of my head, so a little nerve-wracking. But it went perfectly smooth and that was just fun. It's like things like that is definitely what I live for in the
Yeah.
industry is like being able to just be a part of like crazy cool encounters and experiences and so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Do you have any advice for anyone who wants to pursue a career in film production or just production overall, whether it be documentary, shorts, music videos?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, obviously number one is really understanding your craft, what your role is. I think at first anybody that wants to get into film, they can see themselves fitting under multiple umbrellas, directing, writing, all of that. I think the first step is very much understanding where you feel you fit. Um, and then I think also just going at it with confidence. I think that's kind of the biggest thing that I've really learned is especially as a woman in the industry and we can be very hard on ourselves. We can feel very defeated by, such a male dominated industry and feel like we're not as welcome in certain rooms. And so I think for women especially entering the film industry to have that confidence and to just like say to yourself, I deserve to be here. I've worked to be here. I have something to say and I belong. Um, there are so many people, so many men even, who
Yeah.
have jobs that we are probably just as qualified for, but we just didn't have the confidence, understandably, to like, really ask for it. And so for me, I think, yeah, really, really just go into it with as much confidence as you can possibly muster because you'll be so surprised. Things that feel out of your reach will suddenly come knocking and be like, hey, you sound kind of great. Let's talk.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, as much confidence as you can bring to the table, the better off it'll be.
I agree. And there's a lot of people in this industry who are doing a lot that they don't know what they're doing, but they got through it because they just pretended or had the confidence to be like, yeah, I can do it. But they,
So true. So true. Like especially as a producer and even working in the industry that I'm also currently working in, I'm like constantly looking at things and I'm like, how did they not logistically look at that and do that better? Or like and so it's yeah. So exactly. I think really ask and you shall receive for sure. You just gotta go out into the world and make it happen.
okay, so I have a quick rapid fire question. If you would
Okay.
entertain me. Okay, it's
Sure.
the number to beat is 9. So I'm gonna start the clock.
Okay. Oh my gosh,
Oh,
is this like a quiz?
no, it's all about you. So
Okay.
okay, so
Gotcha.
I'm starting the clock. Scariest
Okay.
movies you've ever seen?
Oh my gosh, scariest movies I've ever seen. The Conjuring was horrifying. I'm not that big on horror.
That's one. That's
I don't know. I
fine.
just saw Megan, but it wasn't that terrifying. The
Fa-
Conjuring.
favorite actor or actress?
Ooh. Oh gosh. Okay. Um, right now I'm obsessed with Brian Tyree Henry. Love him. And he's up for an Oscar right now for Causeway, I believe. And he was just in Bullet Train. He was great in Atlanta. I'm
Oh,
loving his yeah. He's awesome, and he's just doing thing after thing now, and it's awesome to see. So I'm definitely liking everything I've seen of his.
okay. First concert you went to?
First concert I went to was the Beach Boys.
The model of your first phone?
Oh my gosh. I think it was an LG flip phone or the Razor, but I'm pretty sure no, I had an LG flip phone first
What fashion trend do you wish could come back?
that I wish could come back. Oh my gosh, none of them. No, I don't know. I would say maybe I love a lot of like I love a lot of the patterns in like the 70s and like 80s. Like we could get back into color and fun patterns maybe.
Last show you binge?
Last show I binged, I literally just
You could still
no,
answer.
I had to do it fast. I forgot. Um, the last show I binged was Elite. It's a Spanish Netflix show, like a high school murder mystery. Very
Oh,
fun.
from Spain?
From Spain, yeah.
Okay. And then my last question would be, what would be the advice you would give your younger self when you're getting ready to either move to New York or just getting ready to embark in this journey of pursuing a career in film and TV?
Well, it's hard because I grew up in New York, so I never had to have the like let's move to New York moment.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, but I would say I think two things. I think at first when I went into that jump of the film industry and I was like talking to friends and family about it, I think the biggest stigma it had at first is people were like, well, there's only so many Scorseses in the world and so many, James Camerons or whatever. And they all thought that like the end goal was, be an Oscar, be like the top director in the world. And I think it took a moment for me to like realize what my goals were and my dreams were within that world and, understand that I'm not trying to be Scorsese, not at all. So, for me, it was kind of overcoming, really just understanding me and what I have to say, and that the goal isn't to be another, like, white male director. That there's a lot of really awesome things that aren't that are very worthy in the film industry. So that was a very big moment for me when I was choosing to pursue film.
Good. I like that. And I wish that you do get to make your movie with the sharks.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Wynona. This was fun. It was so nice to reconnect with you.
Yeah, you as well. I definitely need to hear about everything that you're doing. Which you're welcome to tell me now, but if you don't want to, you can tell me later.
Oh no, I could tell you. I'm just doing this podcast. Like I said, I got my MFA 2 years ago. In writing and producing for TV, and I was kind of having a hard time finding work in production because a lot of it was just like I needed experience, and the things that I'd done didn't really matter to them. So I was like, whatever. So I kind of took a break from applying because I spent like 2 years applying for jobs, and I even like applied to be a receptionist at a Tonight Show, and they were like, you don't qualify. So it was just really frustrating.
Honestly, one of the hardest jobs to get. Like, no, I feel that it's certain companies, especially, are like just so hard to break into. Whether you're a PA, a receptionist, or the freaking top dog, like it's difficult for sure.
Yeah, no, that's why I took the
But that's
workshop
cool.
in LA for the podcast to see if I could just so I could keep creating stuff, just so I could, keep my creative juices flowing.
Oh, absolutely. I love to do I have one friend that's a up and coming singer, and I do her music videos all the time just as like a way to stay creative and stay plugged in. And I totally feel you. It's like any way that you can just feel like passionate and creative in this industry is worthwhile.
I know. But I'll let you go. I don't want to take too much of your time.
No worries. Thank you.